Greetings everyone, this is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're talking about the week of August 14th, 2023 this time around. Last week we talked about the Perseid meteor shower, and one of the things that we talked about was the fact that we run through this tube of material, and it's got different, it's got extent to it, right? I mean, it takes us time to plow through this material, and the peak occurred Saturday night into Sunday morning, the 12th into the 13th, and we're starting here in the evening of the 14th for this week. But we're still passing through that stuff. Now, the back side of this, if you were to plot a graph of what this typically looks like, the meteor rate as a function of time, with days along here and rate up here, it would look like this, and then you have that sharp peak that we just got through, and then it would drop off. And it drops off much more quickly on the tail end side, typically after the peak than before the peak. So we're going to fall off quickly, but early in the week it's dark. There should still be a chance to see a few extra meteors above background. So it's worth getting out on Monday night or Tuesday night, and under the dark skies, the moon's new most of the week. It's a very, very good week to have dark skies without much moon interference. Why don't you go ahead and try to see if you can still have a chance to see a few additional meteors over what you would see randomly each night. Now, talking about the moon, it will start to make an appearance by the evening of the 18th. All the way on Friday, the moon will pass through new on about the 16th and will pop out in the evening sky. But on the evening of the 18th, it's only about 6% full. Very hard to see. Thin moon. My guess is you might not be able to see it, but give it a try to look in the glow of the evening sunset. And what's interesting that night is the moon passes very close to Mars. Mars is going to really be hard to pull out of that evening glow of the sunset. But go ahead and take a look and see what you can find right there. I don't think you'll see Mars. But you might be able to get a 6% full moon. That's right on the edge. You can probably pull out if you really work at it and have good skies. And use your binoculars or something to try to help with that. The next night, the moon's now passing through Virgo. And the next night, Porrima is a star we've talked about a few times before, because objects, it's really close to the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun through the sky, so the flat plane of the solar system. Objects from the solar system pass by there all the time. And the moon will be about 12% full, beautiful slender crescent. You will be able to see this just after sunset, and it'll be very near Porrima. Again, it's going to be hard to see the star. Still close enough to the sunset. You might want binoculars to help you right there. The next night we go by Theta Virginis, a fourth magnitude, magnitude 4.5 star. Remember, magnitude counts backward. 5 or 6 is probably the faintest that you could see. So this is getting down there, but you probably can see that without optical aid if it's dark, but you're still pretty close to the glow of sunset. But by now the moon's 18-19% full, and so it's going to pass within a degree or two of Theta Virginis. So watch the moon. Look for the moon in the evening sky. Look to see if you can see it passing the stars of Virgo if you have a chance right there. Early in the week, late in the week. Earlier in the week when it's dark, we can use the dark skies because of the lack of moon to find some things we might have trouble finding otherwise. And let's start with Cygnus. So Deneb is the big bright star in Cygnus. Translates Arabic for tail. So it's the tail of the swan. There are a lot of stars that have Deneb in the name. And we look at the swan down this way. We've seen Albireo is this beautiful double star right here. Is the head of the swan. And we've talked about it before, but it's worth mentioning again. You got a small telescope. Grab it and enjoy the view of Albireo here. Altair is another star of the summer triangle with Deneb. Is way down here. If we go about, we make a triangle that's shaped like this. We go about 8 degrees, just over 8 degrees from Albireo, and 14 degrees up from Altair. We have M27, the Dumbbell Nebula, it's called. Looks like a bow tie. It's a good, bright planetary nebula. And so we got this planetary nebula. You get this, low-mass stars, their end states will puff off their outer layers. What's left behind is a white dwarf star, the core. It's not fusing anymore. It's just cooling away and sitting there. And then you've got the envelope of the star, the outer part of the star that's expanding out into space. And this one's expanding out into space in such a way that from our perspective it looks kind of like a bow tie. And it's a pretty bright, tight knot. of material. Sometimes these can be small and hard to see, and this one's relatively small, but it's bigger than some others, and it's brighter than some others across for the size that it has across there. It's worth trying to check that out. If you've got a small telescope, you're looking for something, M27, early in the week, all week, because the moon's not really too interfering later on. This is a great thing to try. Just below there, if you're trying to guide your way, if you don't have a telescope that takes you to these objects, you're trying to guide your way in, just about 3 degrees below there is a 3.5 magnitude star, Gamma Sagitta. Altair is in Aquila the Eagle. Albireo is in Cygnus the Swan. This, of all things, M27 is actually in the constellation of Vulpecula, and the guide star we're using right here that's just about 3 degrees below M27 is in Sagitta. These are faint constellations, Vulpecula and Sagitta. We're not going to try to cloudy things up today by trying to find the stars in here. Let's just go see if we can find the Dumbbell Nebula M27. Now there's another nebula up here that we're going to look for under these dark skies. And this is a really challenging nebula. Here, NGC 7000 lies about 3 degrees to the west of Deneb. And it lies about 1.25 degrees, you know, a little, maybe a finger width or so, a little bit more to the east of Psi Cygni over here. That's a 3.7 magnitude star, so you should be able to see that. So sort of between Deneb and the first relatively bright star you get to go in this direction, closer, sort of 3 times closer more or less to this fainter star. You'll find NG 7000. It's known as the North American Nebula because of its shape. And you can look it up in pictures and see what that shape looks like. But this is a bright, different kind of nebula. It's not a star that's puffed off its outer layers. Any cloud of gas in space that we can see, it looks bright to us, we're going to call a nebula. And this is one of these. And it's got a low surface brightness, so it's a little bit, this is a rich field. We're in the plane of the Milky Way. The disk of the Milky Way runs through here. There's a lot of gas and dust and clouds of stuff out there. And so you run into glowing clumps all over the place, but they're hard to see and low surface brightness right here. Now, interestingly, I've read people claim that you can pick out the brightest part of the North American Nebula with good big binoculars, 750s or something along those lines, that you have 50 millimeter oculars on there. Might be bright enough to figure this out. Now, this is part of the summer triangle. It's up high in the sky as it gets dark. So as soon as it gets dark, see if you can find your summer triangle, Deneb, Altair, and Vega. Vega, Deneb, Altair over here. See if you can find your summer triangle we've talked about before. Just as it gets dark, it's going to be high in the sky, well placed for observing. And then see if you can find NGC 7000, the North American Nebula. Probably you want a telescope, and maybe not the smallest of telescopes. If you've got a telescope, you know, a 4-inch diameter telescope or a 6-inch diameter telescope, you should be able to start to pull this thing out if you've got good dark skies. But you need good dark skies, and you're going to get it from the lack of moon this week. So this is what we got for you. See if you can find any lagging Perseid meteors early in the week. I think you can. You'll see a few above background. Watch the moon make an appearance later in the week as it's a very thin, slender crescent and starts to fill out, moving through Virgo. And then let's identify the stars of Cygnus and Altair, Deneb and Altair, 2/3 of the summer triangle. Albireo, fine double star. Use it to find M27, it and Altair. To find M27, this great planetary nebula, really one of the better planetary nebula in the sky. And then a faint reflection nebula, faint glowing nebula up here, the North American Nebula, NGC 7000, up here by Deneb. So that's what we got for you. Hope you have dark skies and good observing, everybody. And as always, thanks for watching.